Your Bible and turn with me to chapter 26. We're going to look specifically at verses 6 through 11 tonight. And that was the third part. If you'll remember, when we started and we studied through this a couple of Wednesdays ago, we talked about, in chapter 25, we entitled it, Life Goes On. Abraham dies. Isaac and Rebekah is married. He even talks about Ishmael, which was Abraham's son, other son, was not the son of the promise. But it talked about how life goes on. One patriarch dies and another takes their place. And that's what we're seeing here at Grace. We're seeing patriarchs of our church pass away. We're burying them left and right. I wonder who will take their place. But life goes on, with or without them. And then we come and we see, in chapter 26, I've entitled it, Life Lessons. As life goes on, we learn lessons, hard lessons sometimes, lessons that we wished we didn't have to learn. And we find as we study this, we're going to watch Isaac copy the lesson that Abraham learned. We also will find Isaac, or God presented Isaac lessons and asked him would he believe him. And tonight we're going to look at lessons learned. And let me go ahead and steal my thunder. Isaac learned it the hard way. Let's remember, real quickly for our ones that was not here 2 Wednesday nights ago. Number one, Isaac copied Abraham's lesson. Lessons number one, he ran from trouble. Abraham was never told by God to go to Egypt, and Isaac was never told to go down to Gerar. But they ran from trouble. It was, and you can read verse 1 in chapter 26. It says, the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. It was just like it. The trouble was the exact same. And like father, like son, he copied his mistake. He should have learned from his dad's lesson, but he didn't. Isn't it amazing that we, as children, we make the same mistakes and copy the same wrong decisions that our parents made? Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we basically make a good decision and don't make that same mistake. But so many times we do. You see, Abraham, when we studied it, Abraham failed to trust God, and so did Isaac. Same lesson copied. He just didn't trust God. He didn't think God could take care of him. So he ran from his trouble, and he didn't trust God. And the sad part about it is the same mess that Abraham got into, so did Isaac. All found there in verse 1. And we find that as God comes and meets with Isaac, and there he is in Gerar, we find that God says to Isaac, he said, first thing, do not go to Egypt. That was the first question. Will you trust God's direction? You see, I figure Isaac wanted to leave that Palestinian city and go on down to Egypt, but God told him, no, you stay right where you are. And so the question's going to be, will we learn the lesson to listen to what God says, his directions? Will we take his directions? Let me tell you, friends, right there's God's directions. If you don't study it, if you don't read it, if you don't memorize it and ponder on it, you're probably going to learn some very hard lessons that you're not going to like the mess that it gets you into. Secondly, would we trust God's promises? All of a sudden, God breaks out and he gives Isaac, Abraham's son, the exact, almost word for word promise of what God's going to do through Abraham's seed. Can we, in the midst of our messes, can we still trust God? Will we learn the lesson to trust God in the middle of a pandemic? Will we trust God in the middle of troubles at church, or troubles at work, or troubles at school? Will we trust God? God's asking us, will we learn that lesson to trust Him? Because He told Isaac, He said, what I told your father, I'm going to do. I promised him, and I am now promising you. Thirdly, when we talk about the lesson presented, will we trust true obedience? Well, I want you to read that verse with me. It's found in verse 5. And then that's going to lead us right into our study tonight. God said to Isaac, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. God said, here's the lesson I'm presenting to you. Do you believe obedience pays dividends? Do you believe that if you're obedient to try to live by God's way and God's law, will God pay dividends for it? That's the lesson we have to learn. The sad part about it is many times we choose the other or the alternative. And the sad part about it is we learn a hard lesson. So, tonight we're going to look at the third thing that we were trying, and that is the lessons learned. Read with me there at verse 6. It said, Isaac dwelled in Gerar, and the men of the place asked about his wife, and he said, she's my sister. For he was afraid to say she is my wife, because he thought, lest the men of this place kill me for Rebekah, because she is beautiful to behold. Now it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked through a window and saw there was Isaac showing endearment to Rebekah his wife. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, quite obviously she's not your wife. Or she is your wife, so how could you say she is my sister? Isaac said to him, because I said, lest I die on account of her. And Abimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the people might soon have lain with her, with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. So Abimelech charged all his people, saying, he who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. You see, the lessons that he had copied from his father is about to get into a mess. You remember Abraham. Abraham went from failure to forgiveness in the story in chapter 20. And I just want to remind you of the 3 points we looked at when we studied through chapter 20. Number 1, Abraham failed to follow God. God never sent him to Egypt, and so he's already failed what God had asked him to do. But what he didn't do is lack faith. He did the exact same thing that Isaac just did to Rebekah. But, really truthfully, Sarah was his half-sister. So it really wasn't that big of a lie, okay? Even though she was his wife, Sarah was truly her half-sister. You know who Rebekah is to Isaac? They're first cousins. That's a little bigger lie, isn't it? Is there any difference? Is there any difference in a big lie and a little lie? We seem to think there is. We seem to, not really worry about the little lies, we worry about the big lies. I can go ahead and tell you, they get you in trouble in heaven all the time. You see, Abraham got in a mess, and if you don't remember our study, Abraham lived with that mess the rest of his life. It started with Lot. It started with his family and corrupted Lot and his family. It tore his wife Sarah's heart out because he brought a mistress back with him that she gave to Abraham. Folks, let me tell you, that mistake cost Abraham the rest of his life. And Isaac is making the exact same mistake. You just read it. Oh, she's my sister. No, she's not. So I want to teach us just a couple of lessons, and I hope we can learn them before we decide to tell a little white lie tomorrow. Okay? I want you to think on a personal level. You may tell a little white lie, and the first thing that you're going to learn is that a lie is easily told. It's easy to come right off your lips. I mean, you stop and think about it. In Isaac's case, it was easy for him to lie because Abimelech didn't know him. The people of Gerar didn't know Isaac or Rebekah. Who's it going to hurt? Who's it going to... I'm doing it to save my throat, because they could slit my throat and kill me and take my wife, Rebekah. But if she's my sister, they won't. They'll just kill her. They won't kill me. That's the thinking, folks. That's sort of self-centered, isn't it? If I call her my sister, they'll just kill her. They'll take her and rape her and take her, but they won't kill me. But if it's my wife, and they want her bad enough, they'll kill me. So, hey, she's dispensable. Isn't that pitiful? We lie to cover our own hides. But isn't that most of the time what a little white lie is? Maybe it's to cover embarrassment. Maybe it's to cover up a fault that you have made. Maybe it's a weakness that you're trying to hide. And, you know, I've talked to a lot of people, and I get tickled at how they can lie. And, you know, especially working at Air Equip and working on a machine nobody has ever seen in this area. And it was called a braider. And it would braid thousands of ends of wire down on the hose. And I'd take a young boy down there and said, "Have you ever seen anything?" "Yeah, I've seen a lot like that." I said, you ever threaded a bobbin?" "Sure, man, I can do that. Watch." It wasn't long, he had wire in his nose. I'll never forget, this stuff is so oily and so nasty that I walked up to a braider one time, and I felt so sorry for this boy. We called him Cowboy because he loved to wear cowboy boots and the hat and the works. And he was standing there, and he had a ball of wire in his mouth, all running out the side of his face. And I said, "I thought you knew how to do that." "I don't. Can you show me?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to." We tell little white lies and get ourselves in a mess. I've done it. I could tell you a lot of personal stories, but then you'd have something on me then, wouldn't you, Ernest? You know, when you stop and think about it, it's easy to tell a lie. It just comes off our tongue. It's the most amazing thing. It's easy told. But what we learn in this story, and the lesson we learn, it's hard to live a lie. Now think about it for a minute. Here is Isaac and Rebekah down in a foreign country, in a foreign city. And he has told them that this is my sister. It's hard to keep that facade up that long. You ever tried to live out a lie? You got to always keep that lie in mind. But see, Isaac forgot. The term endearment is a lot deeper than what it sounds in the Hebrew. The Hebrew means he was showing affection to her. in a husband and wife way. It wasn't just a hug and a kiss. It was more. It was very obvious what the king saw. And so guess what? He had lived the life for a long time. He had kept the rouge up for a long time. He had fooled so many people. But all of a sudden the king looked in and he said, surely this ain't your sister. It's got to be your wife. You know, the lesson we need to learn is if you're going to tell a lie to protect yourself and to make your life easier, you better be willing to live that life, the rest of your life. Because sooner or later it will be found out. And this is what we learn from this lesson. That we learn that once, sooner or later, somebody's going to find you out. Jesus told us that everything will be uncovered. Everything will be known. And so if we continue down that path of lying, if we continue down that path of covering up sin, or even covering up our lack of faith, believe me, it'll find us out. So it's easy to tell, but it's really hard to live. But I thought it's really amazing as I watched James Merritt this Sunday. He was on this topic, but it dealt with David and Bathsheba, talking about living a lie and how it haunted David for the rest of his kingdom. And for 40 years of being a king, that haunted him. And he lived a lie until a good friend came and told him. And a good friend told him that he needed to make it right. And David did. Yet it cost him 2 children in his family. They died because of his lie. Let me tell you, friends, as we see the Bible teaches us lessons that lying's going to get you nowhere. It's going to get you deeper and deeper. And it's hard to live. It's hard to keep up that facade. It gets real tiring. And so, friends, the third and final point I want to make is about this lesson learned. That a lie hurts others always. Always remember that. A lie always hurts others. You might think you have hid it from others. Many others have said, oh, they'll never find out. Well, I'm watching families today that's living proof that that lie from years ago is hurting them and their families today. Isaac had to live. Did you hear what the king said? He said, what have you done? He said, what is this you have done to us? Isaac was just protecting himself. But Abimelech had a very good point. He's looking at Isaac and he's saying, look, that lie to cover your sin, to cover your weakness, look what you've done to us. And that's the saddest part about lying today, is that we hurt other people unintentionally. We didn't think about what kind of effect it would really have on others. And so, friends, learn the lesson. Is that lie worth hurting others? Because Abimelech began to scold Isaac. And he says, once again, what is this you've done to us? One of the people might soon have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. You see, Isaac didn't care about the Philistines. All Isaac cared about was his own hide. And that's the cruel part of a lie. You only care about ourselves. We don't care about our others. So, in conclusion, the truth about a little lie. A lie may protect you for now. But sooner or later, it's going to hurt your witness, and it's going to hurt others' respect of you. You see, when this king found out that Isaac had lied to him, what happened to Isaac's witness? He lost it. He is no longer a godly man. He's a liar. He's a liar, and he is no longer has a witness in the Philistine area. And we're going to read in the remaining of this chapter how it affected his life and his dealings with these folks. You see, the sad part about it is, a lot of times we don't care. You see, we don't care if people don't respect us. But I really don't like a two-faced person, do you? I don't like somebody that'll lie to my face and yet turn around and talk about me behind my back. All I can say is, many times we know it. We just don't confront it. This king confronted it. And so I ask you a question in closing. Which was the man of integrity in this story? The king or Isaac? Who was the man of integrity? Did you hear the law that he proclaimed? No one is to touch this man's wife or touch this man. He was a king of integrity. Isaac was a liar. So do you learn the lesson? No. Afraid we won't. It's according to what's on the line. But friends, when that thought comes up in your mind, to tell an untruth, to tell something that really truthfully hurts others, it'll really never help you. It only hurts. So life does go on. And lessons truly are copied. Some lessons are presented and we learn from them. Last but not least, we do learn from the hard ways of life and the hard struggles. Isaac will pay for this. Read on in chapter 26. We'll come back next Wednesday night and we'll try to continue in this study. And we will look at just how much that witness lost in the Philistine city cost him. It cost him a whole lot of work. He spent more time digging wells than he would have if he hadn't lost his witness. And he would have been that godly man.